For about a decade now, we have been telling Disney that Star Wars is broken. Perhaps it is irreparably broken. But now, finally, after all of these years, after suffering through Rian Johnson and the rise of Skywalker/Palpatine, after being forced to watch Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett, Disney apparently realizes Star Wars is gravely damaged. And now, according to a source, the repair work is beginning. Whether or not it is too late, we cannot yet say, but folks, we'll show you the evidence that they know that they destroyed Star Wars. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are so happy to have you. We are here to give voice to the mainstream majority, the sensible center who just says, make our entertainment good once more. And joining us to help us talk about it today is Lauren Connor of That Park Place and Coach of the infamous Echo-Based Network. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Coach, it has been too long since you've been on. I'm excited to get your take on this. Let's dive in, folks. And what has happened is that a source that is close to Star Wars, that I have used in the past to break big scoops and news here on this channel, came to me and said, there's something happening at Lucasfilm. There's something happening at Disney. And that is that they are taking the actions where they now know they screwed up. So we're going to walk through a few articles here, folks, kind of rapid fire, and just show you why we sort of believe this rumor and why Disney actually may be, perhaps too late, attempting to course correct. Here's what we've got. This is an article out of Blog Mickey. It says, Savi's Workshop, custom lightsaber and droid depot build-a-droid experiences now require prepaid booking. Folks, you can read this article. It's by Mike. Link is in the description down below. But essentially what this is that Disney needs you to pay for this immediately before you ever go on vacation because they can't afford to staff this thing. It's such a lackluster, nobody cares. So if you want to do this, you got to pay for it at home. Okay? That was step one. Step two, Coach, you'll probably like because it comes out of your channel, Echo-Based Network, Star Wars movie marathon on May 4th in only 13 theaters. When they came out and said that there was going to be a Star Wars marathon, all the Star Wars movies on May 4th, some people got really excited, the very few who remain of Star Wars fans. And then it was discovered, oh, wait, it's only in 13 theaters? Like only 13 theaters in the entire country were willing to do this? During a year where we are in the midst of absolutely no content because of a Hollywood strike, still only 13 theaters said, oh, yeah, sign us up for that. We'll do 13 Star Wars movies. And then here's another article. Folks, hang with us here. Star Wars Blue Milk released ahead of National Star Wars Day, a.k.a. May the 4th. And this is where we get into something is happening. Because if you'll notice, there's something interesting about this blue milk. First of all, it's not watery, fruity pebbles like they serve you at Disney parks. It's actually milk. And it has Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. Take a look at this. Run Disney, running an event. This was sent to me by Jonas J. Campbell. It says, follow the journeys of Anakin and Luke Skywalker as they face their destinies. Guys, I'm here to tell you, this would have never happened 5 years ago, right? They were willing to have a hotel that would be utterly shuttered before they would let Luke Skywalker in there. It had to be all about the sequel trilogy. Now, even Disney parks doing these Run Disney things, it's Anakin and Luke. That's bizarre. But this is the thing. This is the item that really convinced me that the source was onto this, because the source said that what is happening first, step one in Disney beginning to make a change, again, maybe too late, but the step one is to stop forcing their third-party partners from having to use the Star Wars stuff that doesn't work. We're talking about Rey. We're talking about the sequel trilogy. We're talking about Ahsoka. We're talking about all this stuff. Fortnite. Fortnite's the biggest thing. Disney just put massive money into Epic Games that makes Fortnite. And if we look at what's going to happen for this upcoming Fortnite event on May the 4th, this collab, right? This is going to be huge. What's going to happen? We're getting Lando Calrissian and Chewie. Those are the characters that are going to be put in the game. No sequel trilogy stuff. Listen, this is happening a month before the Acolyte. Nothing about the Acolyte there. And what do we find if we go to the Disney store and search for the Acolyte? They've pulled all support. There are no Acolyte items whatsoever on the Disney store. If you want an Acolyte toy, you're going to have to special order it out of Hasbro. That is the situation we're in. Guys, before we get into the last point, I've spoken enough. I want to get your takes on this. Coach, we'll start with you. Do you believe, well, let's just put it this way. If Disney begins to try to make repairs at this point, how in the world do they even do it?
Well, if they're doing the things that you're saying that they're doing, that's possible. They've got to get away from Star Wars that doesn't work and give us the Star Wars that works. So the surefire best chance of doing that, the for sure base hit, if you want to use a sports analogy, use the original trilogy, use the prequel trilogy, use Luke, use Anakin. We've seen these things before. We've seen these tactics from Disney in the past since they bought it. I can remember the very first time leading up to, I believe it was the Rise of Skywalker, we got the sizzle reel, the infamous sizzle reel. We got 90 seconds of original trilogy leading up to promotion for their episode 9. Why did they do that? Because that's what gets Star Wars fans' attention. It's not the things that Disney has created. So it stands to reason. Every time they need a base hit, they dust off the old George Lucas created Star Wars, whatever it is. They take it off the shelf, dust it off, and give it to us for a moment. And then, but right after that, you know what's coming. Pro, you just said it. The Acolyte is forthcoming. It's right around the corner. I'm really excited that it's right around the corner. I can't wait to cover this show.
Oh yes, well we're all masochists here. But Coach, let me ask you a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
So my thinking on this, having talked with the source, and there are things that I want to get more information out of this. So maybe in the future we'll be able to do that. I can't guarantee that. It was utterly kind for the source to reach out in the first place. But Coach, what I'm looking at is, I agree with you. Disney, when they get down, they often say, okay, well, we'll throw in Luke Skywalker. He's up to bat now, because then the crowd goes wild. But, we're only going to play him for this one inning, and then you don't get any more Luke. We're going back to the stuff that we love, which is Kathleen Kennedy self-inserts and all of that. My thinking here is, I think we've actually reached the point where there's nobody left in the stadium. Like, it's empty. And nobody's falling for this anymore.
I agree. And to your point about the workshop, I was there 4 or 5 months ago, and at that point it was, you had to buy a ticket for later in the day. You schedule when to go through Savvy's workshop, and it might be 3 or 4 hours later. And one of the reasons that, every time I walked by it was completely full, because those people were scheduled. They were scheduled to be there. But there's an ungodly price point to making those. $400, $500, $600
for a substandard lightsaber, by the way.
Exactly. So yeah. All of that though, Pro, everything that you mentioned is all evidence that, to what we all know, Star Wars is sick. What's the solution? What's the fix? I don't know if there is one now.
Well, the third parties at least seem to think that the only thing that works is the original trilogy. Like that's it. Now, maybe you could make an argument that Obi-Wan from the prequels, maybe that works. I don't know. That was pretty significantly damaged, I would say, with the Disney Plus show. Lauren, give us your thoughts, though. Do you think that we've finally reached a point? Do you give any credence to what we're talking about here, or do you think this is another one of those Lucy with the football moments?
Well, it's kind of like what Coach said. We've seen them pull this kind of stuff before. I kind of went on a rant when you were telling us about this backstage before we started recording, and what I said was, this is pathetic. It's like, oh, they now know that Star Wars is damaged. Gosh, what did it take for them to figure that out? Was it the $1 billion hotel closure? You know, is it the fact that Hasbro is dying and on life support? Is it that the collector market has collapsed? Is that every single video they put out gets disliked into oblivion? What's it going to take, guys? I'm not sure what's wrong. It must be the audience. It's got to be the audience. It's all of these misogynists, these racists. It's these people. They were never really Star Wars fans. We're the real fans. Come on, Disney. It's like, you killed it. Just fess up. Stop with the theatrics. Admit that you killed it and apologize. That's what it's going to take to fix this. And even that's not going to fix it. At least maybe people will get to still have some fond feelings about Star Wars from when they used to love it. They won't think of it as a desecrated corpse. You might get that if you did something like that. If you're not going to do that, don't bother.
So, Lauren, I'm going to come back to you in a moment, and I want to know if you were stuck having to fix Star Wars where it is right now, what you would do to fix it. Okay, but first, folks, this is the grand poobah of stories that tells us that they know. Take a look at this. This is out of Fiction Horizon, but they're reporting on Puck, P-U-C-K YouTube. We know you don't like that word. Puck YouTube with Matt Bellany, and but that one's behind a paywall, and so we always try to find an article that's not behind a paywall to use, if at all possible. And so this is Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy, not a woke warrior, as many fans believe her to be, report says. This is by Valentina Kraljic, and it's from April 20th, so about a week ago. For many, the face of that new woke direction is Kathleen Kennedy, a producer and the current president of Lucasfilm. She has been perceived as woke by some due to her approach to diversity and inclusion within the Star Wars franchise. This largely stems from her decisions regarding the representation of women and minority groups in Star Wars films and related media. Now, that's all a bunch of absolute nonsense because, well, we all enjoyed the diversity that was in the original trilogy, this prequel trilogy, and everything else. This is their defense shield mechanism that they put up. But here's what it says. This from Matthew Bellany, of course, the journalist that we're talking about. And this is what we need. Kathleen Kennedy is not. That whole South Park thing it was funny, but it wasn't accurate. Within Disney, she's not known as the woke warrior. Now, guys, I'm just here to tell you, that's not saying much within Disney. I don't know if you guys have been following the stories we've been doing lately, but now it's been flipped on its head. And now it is, she's not woke. This is not her fault. She's had to be convinced of this. No. She's not woke at all. She would definitely like to do stuff that's anti-woke even. Kathleen Kennedy, she's just totally normal. She's just one of the guys. She's out there drinking beers and having a good time. It's all these wackos in Lucasfilm. What? Pablo Hidalgo's putting a Pablo Hidalgo lightsaber to her neck and making her do it, darn it. Rian Johnson twisted her elbow. She just couldn't help it. Coach, this, I think, is the best indication that it's time for a cleanup and aisle Kathleen Kennedy. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. And this is just another example of how you get clicks. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy has spoken like in an interview situation since 2012. I would say somewhere around a dozen to 15 times. And I would venture to say about half of those times, what is she talking about? Diversity, equity, inclusion, women, all the females that she has in the story group. For anybody to come out and say that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't have an agenda, that's just, you could say that all you want to, but the evidence shows quite the contrary.
Oh, come on, Coach. Bob Iger made her have an entirely female story group led by Kiri Hart. That was Bob Iger. He was doing that to her.
I'm sure Bob Iger made her hire Leslie Headland, who made Leslie Headland cast her wife in The Acolyte. I'm sure it just trickled all the way down like that.
Next thing you're going to say is that Leslie Headland knew something about Harvey Weinstein because she worked for him. Coach, you are way out of line. This is unfair.
I'm sorry, Pro. I apologize. What date was that article written on again?
Talking about the one about Kathleen Kennedy. This is April 20th, 2024.
So obviously he was smoking something.
Obviously. Lauren, take us on a journey. If you were brought in by Disney right now, let's play the hypothetical. You've done this before, but let's do it once more. If they said to you, hey, we realize it. We're never going to publicly admit it. We're never going to come out and say, oh, mea culpa, we're so sorry. But we're screwed. Lauren, help us get out of being screwed. What do you even do at this point?
Before I answer that, I want to comment on the Kathleen Kennedy article briefly.
Please.
Two things I want to say about it. First, you said that she's just out there drinking some beers like everybody else. Pretty sure they're Bud Lights.
She drives a tractor to Lucasfilm every day, Lauren. Come on, man.
Pretty sure they're Bud Lights. The other thing I would say is that if she's being convinced to do this stuff, if these directors and these writers are convincing her to put the woke stuff in, then explain to me the 16 or so directors that had to part ways because of creative differences.
That's a great point.
So, all right. So
all right. How are we going to fix this mess? It's like every bodily fluid you hate all mixed together in one aisle. What are you going to do with it?
Well, you're telling me that they're never going to admit that they screwed this up. So are you
think, Lauren, you think Bob Iger's going to allow them to admit, hey, that sequel trilogy thing we've got our theme parks based on just sucks?
Well, this is what I'm saying, is that if you want me to fix this, are you telling me I have to leave the sequel trilogy intact?
Oh, man. See, now I'm in the seat of Bob Iger. Okay, let's do it this way. Try it without admitting you did something wrong.
No.
Okay. Then in that case, Lauren, since you're the only man who can do this for us, and I'm Bob Iger, and I'm that desperate because I'm bankrupting Hasbro, and nobody will even make my blue milk for me anymore unless I slap Luke on it. Lauren, I give you full access. What do you do to fix it?
All right, so
you can't flog anybody, though. No flogging.
This is right off the top of my head, so it's not well thought out. Forgive me, but I think what I would want to do is let's flip the script for a protagonist a little bit and say that we're going to do something like I think maybe the intention might have been for Kylo Ren. I think what you do is you start with some new characters, and I see it as like two, maybe a male and a female protagonist. Call them explorers, okay? And let's say that they stumble upon Korriban. Again, not Moraband, Korriban. And they discover the Sith tomb world and Sith writings and teachings and are seduced by it. Let's say that they believe that there is a source of power here that they can harness. And in doing so, they inadvertently resurrect the Sith cult. And maybe they do it for intentional reasons. Maybe they think that they can use this power for good, and in doing so become corrupted. And you alternate that against this new Jedi Academy that is filled with new students. The advantage of doing it this way is that you get a stable of new characters that can all have their own personal attributes. You do a movie or two, and you see who the audience reacts to, and that gives you other spin-offs that you can do, other protagonists that you can follow. It builds out a stable of characters. But more than that, it lets you explore the Sith, and you can start to dive into their history and develop. One of the first articles that I wrote for that Park Place was talking about restoring the line of kings into the continuity, and that was all of the Sith Lords going back to the Old Republic. There's all kinds of things that you can explore there, and it would give you a different perspective. Not saying that you're glorifying these villainous characters as heroes, but it does flesh out a little bit more of the universe, kind of like the prequel trilogy did by showing you the galactic politics that were involved in the Old Republic.
Well, that's one thing you could do. I don't know that it's going to get fans to say, yeah, I forgive you for some of this stuff that you've put us through. All of this stuff you've put us through. Most of this stuff.
Yeah, I think that pretty much the ship has sailed. It's like you're asking me to make a Hail Mary pass, though. So, I mean, if that's what I got to work with.
I think you literally have to come out and say, we're going to split this off into its own Disney canon, and we're going to reset. That's all I see that you can do. I think it's so damaged now. I just don't see how you can go forward with it. You know, it's like having the greatest soup in the world, and then somebody comes by and puts something disgusting in it, and you want me to still find a way to serve it, and I don't know how to get that back out of there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's the old restaurateur insulting the clients. It's like there's only so much of that you can do before they just decide, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. And that's where we're at now. So I think you're right. Even if they put their best foot forward, they made their best effort, unless they're able to knock it out of the park and make the best movie ever made, nobody cares anymore.
And on that point, Lauren, to me, it's sort of like now we're at the point where they say, well, Chef Kathleen, she didn't mean to put the kitty litter in the soup. That was forced upon her. She had no choice. The sous chef did that to her. Coach, I'm going to give you the final word on this. You love Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Lauren loves Star Wars. We all want Star Wars to be what it was when we enjoyed it the most. And there was such excitement surrounding this property back when Disney purchased it. Folks thought that they would treat it well because at that time, Marvel was doing well, and we thought they would give it that same kind of care. Now, Marvel since looked at what Star Wars was doing and said, yes, please, we'll have some of that fail. And they went, full force ahead with it. And we see where that led us, same exact location. But Coach, what do you think is the essence of what made Star Wars work originally? And is there any way that we can strip away all of this suck to get back to what was good and at least try to keep that without having to throw everything out and say reboot the whole darn thing?
Sure. The original trilogy grabbed every generation. And Disney has been unable to capture the younger generations. They just haven't been able to do it. You go to a Disney park, you might see 2 kids dressed as Rey. That's it. Star Wars is no longer the cultural phenomenon that it was when I grew up. It no longer has its place, in the cultural zeitgeist that it did. It's over. The only way to fix it is to get as far away from what Disney has made as possible. You had a golden opportunity and you blew it. And there is no forgiving that. You cannot forgive the fact that they had an opportunity to put the original cast back on screen and give us Star Wars, and they
for 2
failed
minutes
to do
at least. I mean, you talk about stupid.
Yeah,
that's like Justice League, and you don't put Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman together.
Yeah, exactly. You failed to do that, and so retcon or not, it doesn't matter because we're not ever going to get that moment again. It's over, and the prequel trilogy, you mentioned them earlier. There's a lot of people that really love the prequels and I like them just fine, but they pale in comparison to the original trilogy.
I agree with that.
Obviously I'm biased because that's the era I grew up in.
No, I think quality wise, you can't get away. I mean, there's the character connection is not there with the prequels that exists in the original. Obi-Wan might be the only one that you can truly feel that kind of connection with.
Yeah.
Coach, let me ask you a question about what you just said, though, because there's something fascinating I think about it. And that is, like, of the things that Disney did, is there anything that you would keep? I know Lauren's position on this, but what do you say about, is there any part of that we could, can we keep Mandalorian season 1 and season 2? Or do you think it's all got to go?
Oh, absolutely. Now, the thing is like, I'm such a Star Wars fan and it's gotten so bad that, if given a quick decision, I would throw it all in the garbage and let's just start all over again. But if I sit down and really think about it, Mandalorian season 1 was pretty dang good. Season 2 was great. Season 2 brought tears to my eyes, especially at the end, when I finally got to see what I've been wanting to see since 1983. I finally got to experience it, and they did it the right way, in my opinion. And fans, again, 60, 70-year-old men were on our show in tears saying Star Wars is back. Star Wars is back. They killed it as
fast as they could.
Yeah.
And that's why Kathy's not getting out of this situation with dinky little articles claiming she's not woke, because they had lightning back in the bottle and they decided to smash it because someone who was moderate, not even conservative, was part of the effort, and that couldn't exist.
Yeah.
So
And Pablo Hidalgo couldn't stand Theory's emotional response. He was actually happy watching Chapter 16 of Mandalorian. So he said whatever about, emotions are not for the show or shouldn't have it or whatever he said. I don't even remember. It's been so long.
If Theory had broken out with a hanky when Rose kissed Finn, then Pablo would have jumped for joy. That would be the moment.
Of course.
But folks, as a reminder, it's going to take a long time. I don't know if it's even possible, but we're not here to just report on negativity. When Disney begins to make baby steps, what do you want us to do? We're going to report on it because we have to. Yeah. I don't know that it's going to be successful. But as the source said, and hold on just one second, Lauren, I'll get to you, but they could be doing the Acolyte for Fortnite. They could be doing the younger version of Lando. They're not. They could be running all kinds of Acolyte merchandise on the Disney Store. They're not. And it's not because they are smart. They've proven that. They're not. It's because they can't. It's because this is an endless pit, and they cannot continue. We have reached, I think, the absolute bottom, and I bet, although I don't know, we'll review it fairly. I don't think I can convince Lauren to do this with me again, but we'll review the Acolyte fairly. But I danger, Will Robinson, danger. Lauren, what do you got?
I'm just saying, Lando with a keytar ain't gonna do it.
Well, at least he's not trying to get with a robot in this one. At least it's not that. Keep Bender away from Lando in Fortnite, folks. Don't let him near that. At least not the young version. All right, folks, we hope you had a great time. And again, we do our very best to report accurately on what's going on with Disney. Even when we don't think they're going to be successful, if they're trying to begin moving in the right direction, we're going to talk about it because we think that's the right and fair thing to do. Folks, please go over to Echo Base Network, subscribe to the channel. They are, I think, the premier place for Star Wars. And, Coach, that's not been easy for you guys. I mean, it's a very difficult thing to continue to do. But I've noticed you guys have branched out at times in the past. And so I hope to see even more of that. Coach, what do you got coming up soon on Echo Base Network? What's up on the future?
The Acolyte's right around the corner, but we've been having fun, reviewing Marvel or X-Men 97. It has been way better than I anticipated. You were saying when things are good, we'll report on the good. I thought my expectations for X-Men 97 was very similar to the Acolyte, and I've been very pleasantly surprised and pleased. It's been pretty good.
I'm worried about the final episode, but up until this point, I'm right there with you. It's been quite good, and we're not going to fib and just try to rage bait folks. It's pretty good. We'll see what happens with the final episode. I'm worried that they're going to decide that they agree with Magneto and not with Professor X, and all the X-Men have been wrong this whole time, and you can't be tolerant. Boy, oh boy, if that's the message of the final episode. Yeah. Lauren, you also have become quite the star on a new channel called T3PO, where finally the genre guys have been unleashed. And we have the genre guys with you and Lou and with HT. You guys are on the member exclusive side of this channel for about 2 months. And then those episodes go public with T3PO. Which one did you guys just record together? What can we expect to come out soon for the members?
The one that we recorded tonight is Around the World in 80 Days. And so look forward to that sometime here in the next week.
All right, folks. We have spicy content that honestly we don't even know how to cover on the platform that we exist. That'll be coming out on this channel. More Evil Queen stuff. But also, and Coach, you might not believe this, according to some folks we've talked with, Jesus is coming to Disney+. Because Disney knows they have a problem.
I thought you were about to say Jesus is coming back, and I'm like, well, I know that.
Well, Disney+. Okay. Disney+ first. But folks, that's the kind of stuff we're going to be covering that, there's something going on with this company where they're like, whoa! But anyway, folks, we sure could use your help. Click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing. And as always, keep having fun.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well, you see, I wanted to get some inside scoops on Disney and their, different corporations, if you know what I mean. So I figured, by looking into this fistbowl and sucking it randomly with my own energy that I pay for, you paid for, I could do the whole experience where you can be a master and spy on your targets.
You're an idiot. If you want to get the inside scoop on Disney, or even other media organizations, you should check out thatparkplace.com and subscribe to WDW Pro's YouTube channel. That'd be way easier, more accurate, and, less dumb.
Are you saying I won't get accurate information this way?
No, you can't.
Who'd have think?